Hello everyone, this is Alex Mathers reporting to you for episode number 13 of the Red Lemon Show, and I don't really know where to look today because I'm doing, for the first time ever, I'm recording the video while I do the podcast. So I don't really know where to look and how to do this yet. I'm getting used to it, but I figured that if I wanted to get more video content out there, I should really make use of killing two birds with one stone and record the visuals of me doing the podcast so I can get this onto YouTube and other good platforms where they have videos. Welcome aboard. It's great to have you back. I've been away for a few days. I was in Laos. I was in Vientiane, Laos, which is a landlocked country north of Thailand. I'm currently based in Bangkok, as you can see with my beautiful backdrop here. You can't see, this is the thing, you can't see it on the podcast. So if you want to see, maybe you can do this, maybe you want to go over to YouTube and see the video while you listen to this as well. So I am currently in Bangkok. I was over there for a visa run, but it actually coincided with my birthday. So I'm 34, admittedly, 34 years of age. Still feel young though, so that's always important. Was there to deal with various things regarding education, visas and things that I don't want to go into too much detail with, but it was nice to take a little bit of a break and a change of scene. But now that I'm back, I have to sort of readjust mentally to how it was before, and I have missed a couple of days with the podcasting, so thank you for being patient. So here we are, rolling into another episode number 13, the big scary 1-3. What are we going to be talking about? Well, we're going to be talking about things that scare us, and in particular, other people. So social anxiety, how to get rid of it, how to address it. We will be jumping into that into more detail a little bit later on. First of all, I wanted to cover my usual plugs. redlemonclub.com. If you haven't been to redlemonclub.com yet to read other articles, I cover things from marketing to productivity to being creative to making an impact with your creative skills. Go to redlemonclub.com. That's you on video too. And check out those articles. Make sure that you're signed up to the newsletter. So it just requires a simple chuck in of your email into the little box. Put your email in there and you're going to be getting content that you will not find anywhere else. I send my subscribers extra bonuses that I do not share anywhere else. So it's well worth signing up for those. But also that you get a free ebook, you get a free gift. I don't want to date to this podcast. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you will get something special when you sign up to that redlemonclub.com email. You also get updates on when my next podcasts are coming out and other content, including articles and things like that. So, featured creative. So I do these things called the featured creative. So today we'll be looking very quickly into the portfolio of someone who has recommended themselves to me. If you want to be recommended and considered for inclusion in the featured creative, please send an email to shoutout@redlemonclub.com. That's shoutout@redlemonclub.com. I will have a look through the suggestions and I will mention the person that I choose in the next upcoming podcast episode. So it's worth getting featured for a bit of added exposure. And as these podcasts pick up in popularity, there will be more ears and eyes following your work. So do make sure that you put yourself forward for a recommendation. So how is everybody today? I'm going to kind of treat this as a bit of a sort of a radio, like a nightly. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to up my output of these podcasts. And obviously that means a lot more me time, a lot more listening to my dulcet UK tones. But I think that if I put lots and lots of podcasts out, I think it's going to be better for my motivation, because I find that when I leave a few days in between podcasts, I kind of get a bit lazy and I don't really want to do the next one after I've had a break. But if I keep up the momentum, I think that the content ends up being better and I feel more creative and more relaxed as I go into the flow here. So I'm thinking of doing quite a few of these. I may even go up to 6 a week, but we're just talking 40 minutes and I'm going to kind of treat it like a sort of radio call-in, I don't know, like kind of the kind of thing that you listen to when you're on a commute and you just want to sort of relax and listen to my chatting about various things. And I will obviously allow the content to evolve in a way that works for everyone. And I'm always listening to feedback and stuff like that. So I'm always keen to hear what you guys think and what you want me to include in upcoming episodes. Anchor.fm is a very handy way for me to accept you, listeners and viewer call-in. So if you guys want to send in a voice message with a question that I can address directly in the podcast, maybe I can do like a 10-minute session on a question after I've done my main core content. Maybe you want to do that. You want to go to Anchor.fm, look for the Red Lemon Show, make sure that you're subscribed, and send in a voicemail. Don't be shy, don't be scared. We'll be discussing social anxiety in this podcast, so maybe you'll get on top of that for the next time you send in a voicemail. But you can use that system to send in voice messages, and I can address those and include them in the show. They're pre-recorded, so that means I can drop those voice messages in. And if you want to do a little shout out via voice, then you can possibly do that as well, if I allow you to and you've been well behaved. So today's featured creative is Ali Gray, another illustrator. I'm getting a lot of illustrators coming through here. Come on, and lots of women. So I want you guys to send in some recommendations as well. And I refer to and look at all types of creatives. So always keen to have a look. So Ali Gray, if you go to aligray.com, ALLIGRAY.com, she is our featured creative for this episode, and she does very intriguing, swirly, looks like she's using digital methods to get these illustrations of people, editorial, all kinds of illustrations here. Very nice. I like the colours, I like the use of colours and shape. Very interesting stuff here, and I like how the portfolio is there's a very strong style that threads through this portfolio, and it's very clearly her own. So she's done a very good job of maintaining and presenting a strong portfolio that isn't diluted with other styles. There's a strong style running through it. So well done, Ali Gray. You are today's featured creative. If you guys want to be considered for me featuring you, send an email to shoutout@redlemonclub.com. Very happy to take a look at your suggestions. I'm going to have a quick swig of the old water. This is the Montfleur. So this is the added bonus of having a YouTube video setup, is that you can see exactly what I'm dealing with over here. So this is I don't know, it's French, but it's a Thai. I think they bottle this in Thai, so God knows where it's come from. Very good. So Ali Gray, you're in. So shoutout@redlemonclub.com. I've I think battered that email to death. I'm going to leave that. Let's jump in then. Once I've given you a couple more plugs, I just want to sort of mention a couple more things before we go into the social anxiety, the dark corner of this podcast. I wanted to mention, for anyone who hasn't yet joined our Red Lemon Club Slack group, which is an online forum that brings creatives of all types together to discuss everything from setting goals with each other and finding accountability partners to how to get better at marketing, how to be more productive, and just sort of inspiring each other and supporting each other as you go. And it's also interesting to have people from different sides of the industries and different corners come together and share their own insights. I've just realized I've got my AirPods in, and I didn't actually need them in, but it's adding to the look, and I think that it's sort of makes me stand out in a way that is unexpected and very cool. So I'm going to leave those in there. And this is really for you on the YouTubes. This makes absolutely no difference for you listening on the podcast. Where was I? I've completely lost my train of thought, but there you go. Let's jump in then to the social anxiety bit, because losing my train of thought reminds me that we are here to discuss social anxiety issues. And actually, starting my own podcast was something that I've held off for a long time, owing to my own struggles with worrying about what other people think too much and being too self-conscious. And now that I've started this and managed to get my voice out there through the magic of the internet and the medium of podcasting, it has really, really helped me. So this has been a really good move for me to sort of realize that actually I can speak coherently when put under a little bit of pressure, even though I have the option to edit these. I'm going to start interviewing people through this podcast soon as well. So that's going to be a good opportunity for me to kind of engage and meet new people through the recorded medium. So a little bit nerve-wracking, but also exciting at the same time. Social anxiety. So this is, as I said, something I've actually had pretty bad social anxiety through my late teens and 20s. I'm now 34, and it all sort of started from school. I was very quiet at school, very shy, very reticent to share any views and express any thoughts in class. I had grown up jumping from country to country when I was young, and I think the jump from having lived in Barbados, living a very chilled life with my dad's a diplomat, and I lived in Barbados, loved it, sort of got into that very chilled sort of Bajan Caribbean vibe, and was the class clown, was not particularly shy. But then I got dumped into boarding school by my very gracious parents when I was about 13, and I just found myself at such a kind of loss as to what on earth I was doing there. I felt very, very different to everyone else, and it was completely in my head, and it was all a waste of time, and I was overthinking everything. But of course, it led to me being in a sort of spiral of shyness, and it sort of lasted a few years, and it left a very strong mark on me in terms of my confidence. And I would look back and be so ashamed of having not shared myself more and spoken up more in class. I was so annoyed and ashamed about that it affected me. And I sort of all took it to heart, and I absorbed it all, and I became very socially anxious even from that. So it was a kind of spiral of initially shyness and feeling disconnected and very different, and being homesick and just not being very happy at school. And that kind of led to low energy and low mood and being shy, and then spiraling into anxiety because I kept thinking of it too much, and I was allowing the shame to kind of fester and sort of seep into the quality of my life, which was a real shame. But I've since been working very, very hard at trying to eradicate that, and it's affected my life in many ways, and it's really taken it's really blocked me from many opportunities, and it's caused a lot of unnecessary struggle, and I can see it in many other people as well. And I know that social anxiety and social fear and unnecessary social nervousness is something that many people share, and it seems to be something actually worryingly that seems to be growing as well. And I think that the internet and having more excuses and reasons to not go out there and socialize and meet people is probably adding to the problem. So it's well worth talking about. And I also wanted to mention that those of us like creatives in particular, people who like to kind of be in our heads, and we can explore our minds and be completely, we can find so much of interest just in our own heads. It's very easy, especially as creatives, to go down the socially anxious route, because we're not allowing ourselves to sort of exercise in the playing ground of the social world. We're not getting ourselves out there enough. We're finding excuses as creatives to stay at home and be isolated and not need to talk to anyone. And I can totally see where you're coming from with that. And I've always come up with the excuse of, I'm creative, I need to be isolated, I need solitude to focus on my business and my work, and my creative work is much better when I'm alone at home, and I don't need any reason to get out there and speak to people. But of course that has the effect of sort of dumbing down your ability to relax around people, because when you do end up going out and immersing yourself in a high stimulus social environment, it tends to be quite a smack in the face. It's quite high stimulus, and you tend to get kind of overwhelmed. At least that's been the case with me. So it got really bad for me at certain points. For example, I remember in work meetings in my first job when I was 21, 22, I'd get so anxious that I would have, my visions would sort of block out. I'd have tunnel vision and stuff like that, because it would be so overwhelming, and I completely down to overthinking things too much. It's just monsters in your head that you're creating for yourself. You're telling yourself the story that people are dangerous and people are scary, and you are not worthy of being around people, and you don't have the skills and the social skills to deal with it. Of course, that's all bollocks. And I want to talk about, in the short space of time that we have for this podcast, if you guys want to hear more about this kind of stuff, please do send me feedback in the YouTube comments, in the podcast comments, wherever you're watching or listening to this. Send me those comments and give me an idea of where I need to explore further and what you want to hear more about and that kind of stuff. But that was just to give you an idea of how bad it was for me. So I've had it pretty bad. It probably gets a lot worse than it was for me. I mean, I'd still leave the house and still have friends and that kind of stuff, but it did debilitate me in many ways, that were unnecessary and stupid and a complete waste of time, and I lost a lot of potentially good hours of my life and days of my life really to this anxiety. And it still isn't completely gone. I still get anxious before social events, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was. And there are many reasons for that to be the case that it is, and that I want to talk about. There are many things that I've done to drastically improve my situation. And for those of you who are really struggling, it's definitely worth sticking around for a listen to some of the ideas that I can share with you with regards to improving in that area. Now, I wrote an article on Medium and Red Lemon Club called The Cure for an Anxious, Sucky Life. And it did very well. It got a lot of negative reviews and a lot of very positive comments. But I still stand by my points in that article, which was that most of us have problems with anxiety and bad moods and low energy and being too in our own heads because we are too self-absorbed, we're too self-focused, we're too conscious of how we are and how we and what problems we are getting in the world, and we feel that we're suffering more than everyone else. But of course the reality is that your problems are shared by everyone else. I mean, your problems are no different. You may have slightly more acute problems in that you've been overthinking things too much and you've allowed things to progress to the point where you've really absorbed your negative thinking too far, and you're going to need to go in the other direction. But I think most of us have problems with anxiety because we're too self-absorbed. So a way this manifests in reality, for example, is if we go on stage to give a talk, we go up there into the limelight and we're thinking all these thoughts. We're thinking, oh no, what are they going to think of me? Oh no, do I look sweaty? Do I look stupid? Does my nose look too big? Am I going to say the wrong things? Do I sound stupid? So it's all about me, right? And I think this is a symptom of not having grown up yet. I know that it sounds a bit harsh to some of you who are really struggling, but I think that's definitely an aspect of it. We need to adopt a certain level of maturity, which will help us see things in a different perspective. I think if we're always self-centered and we think we're the center of the universe and we think that we have our own problems to fix, then we're going to only be highlighting in our heads, in our minds, what's wrong with us. And that's, of course, going to make things worse. It's going to spiral out of control. And that was exactly what happened with me. I thought about my own problems too much. I was too worried about how I'd come across, too egocentric in that way. And that, of course, had a negative effect on my ability to relax the hell up in social situations, right? So that was the main core focus of that article, and it's well worth searching on Red Lemon Club, or go to Medium actually, because there's more engagement there, and I'd like to see you clapping for me on Medium. Search, what is it? What's the name of the article again? The cure to an anxious, sucky life. Check it out. It's already got I think it's over 200 comments and lots and lots of claps. So it's definitely engaging with people, and that was the main focus of that article. So stop putting all the attention on yourself, and rather than try to fix your anxiety, rather than try to find the cure, which is what we're all looking for, I think we look too much for cures. We're trying to find the answer, the elixir, the special magic pill, the magic bullet that's going to solve our problems. It's fine to think that, but it's the wrong approach, because there is no magic bullet, there is no cure. There's only a redirection of focus. If you're going to remember one thing from this chat, is that you need to be redirecting your focus when it comes to things like mental issues and social anxiety issues. It's about a redirection of where you focus your attention. And up until now, if you've been socially anxious, or even if you just have sort of everyday nerves around people, which we all do, social fears, we're thinking too much about ourselves in those moments. We're not thinking about others, and we're not focused on the present. And rather than sort of getting too much into this focus on the present thing, which I don't think helps particularly well. I think it's great maybe in your free time when you're away and you're relaxed. To focus on the present is fantastic. But if you're in the moment and you're feeling fear, Focusing on what the color of the nearest leaf looks like is not very helpful for social anxiety. Looking deeply into a butterfly is not going to help with your social anxiety in that moment. What's better is redirecting your focus towards how you can make somebody else smile, how you can make somebody else feel better, how can you make somebody else's life better. It's about redirecting that focus to other people. Finally, the pressure is taken off you, which was the problem initially. Take the pressure off you, focus on other people. That's a major aspect of overcoming social anxiety. And read the article, because I am much more eloquent through the writing in that article. And I want to use this concept as a kind of primer for this one. But I think that applies certainly to anxiety in general, is to sort of redirect focus. But for this podcast, and I still haven't really got to the crux of it, for this podcast, I want to talk about a couple of other elements that I think you can stack onto that initial basic approach that really helps with the social anxiety issue. That's really helped me in particular. And I want to break it down. So beyond redirecting your focus, which is a really good sort of philosophy for life in general, which I think everyone should adopt. And I don't mean redirecting focus at the expense of you. You need to be pushing yourself to be better, to be wealthier, to be happier, to be all the good stuff. Increase your own value. Do things for you, but also don't do it at the expense of other people either. You want to get that balance. You want to be improving yourself so that you can help others. And if you're feeling anxious, it's because you're putting too much pressure on yourself. You need to redirect, so that you need to know that there's a sort of escape valve in the form of focusing on other people. That's where things start to relax a bit, and you can start to go through life with a bit more ease. On top of that, these are the three things that I would suggest will help the most, looking at things quite loosely here. These are the things I think will help people with social anxiety get back to a normal state. I know that people don't like to say normal, but someone with a little less anxiety, a little less unnecessary social anxiety. I think people with social anxiety just have too much unnecessary social fear. Everyone has some form of social fear, and that's fine. We need a bit of adrenaline to be pumping through us when we deal with new people, especially people that are gonna elevate us and challenge us. I think that's fine, but there needs to be a certain element of, God, I've lost my train of thought again. Anyway, there are three things, okay guys, that you want to be thinking about when it comes to lessening that unnecessary fear. So the first one is you want to commit to becoming anxiety free. You want to make that commitment to be and bring out the anxiety free version of you. There is that person hiding away there. And you've seen how they are. You know, when you're at home, you're with family, you're in certain environments, that anxiety-free, expressive, happy, vibrant, relaxed version of you is there. You have the potential to be that, relaxed person. But we want to bring that person out in all situations. Okay? So you want to commit to bringing that person out and working on revealing that person, revealing that side of you more and more, especially in those environments where that you need that person to be. You don't want to be anxious in a social environment. You want to be the relaxed version of you. So you need to make a commitment to overcoming those unnecessary social fears. You have to make that commitment first, because then you'll have the purpose to be motivated to actually follow through. So every day you want to remind yourself, I'm on this mission. I accept myself for who I am at the moment, but I'm also committed to this change, to revealing my expressive self in all situations. So that's an interesting thing to note, is that there is that person inside all of us. There's the anxious person and there's the anxiety-free person, and they can come out whenever you want to bring them out. You just have to do the things that I'm about to talk about to help bring those people out. So think about the anxious version of you. They will have certain habits. They have certain thoughts that lead to you being anxious unnecessarily. So for example, in social environments, your anxious version of you sees people as a source of stress, as a source of fear, as an enemy, as unpleasant. And the anxiety-free version of you in that same situation would be thinking people are a source of joy, of fun, of interest, of intrigue, and it's just down to the way that you think about people. So it really comes down to changing those habits of how you think and doing the things. Ultimately, it's about doing the things, taking the actions that the anxiety-free person would do. So you are kind of moving through a spectrum. If you're socially anxious, you need to move through the spectrum of doing the kinds of things that the anxiety-free version of you would do, rather than doing the kinds of things, taking the kinds of actions that you currently do at the moment, if that makes sense. So that's something that I had to realize, is that basically it comes down to, rather than sort of going by all these gimmicks of like, you know, reading out affirmations and meditating for hours on end and you know, doing chants and praying and whatever else that people tell you to overcome social anxiety, taking pills particularly, you stay away from that stuff. That's terrible. I mean, unless you're really suffering. I know that people use those pills to kind of lift them up a bit to get them to a certain level, but really try and avoid that. Rather than doing all this gimmicky stuff, really the ultimate way to overcome unnecessary social fear is, what I found, is to just simply incorporate more of the actions that the anxiety-free version of you would do, rather than the other ones. So it's a case of getting into the habit of simply doing things that you wouldn't otherwise be doing, but that your confident version of yourself would be doing in those particular situations. That will require making time. Now that you've made the commitment to change, it will require making time to desensitize yourself to those situations that you previously found anxious and that you wanted to avoid, and making time for actually immersing yourself in those situations and doing it in such a way that you are kind of incrementally increasing what you would consider a fearful situation, from least anxiety provoking to the most anxiety provoking. But of course, because it's desensitization, you are doing things that are only slightly out of your comfort zone at every step. So you might initially start out by asking someone for the time out in the street. That's a kind of low-level anxiety social situation, and no matter how bad your anxiety is, it's well worth starting small. I mean, you might be much more confident and be able to easily handle asking someone for the time, but you might as well just sort of start small, or start at whatever your level is, and gradually, incrementally, once you feel that you've kind of conquered that situation and you don't feel unnecessary angst, then you can move on to the next stage. So you might move on to asking for directions, and then you might want to move on to slightly more awkward situations, like, you know, telling someone the ABCs in the street, or asking someone what their opinion is on a shirt that you're wearing in a shop, all the way up to doing a video like me, or doing a podcast and publishing it live, or doing a live Instagram video, or doing a talk, and it goes up and up and up. So that's desensitization. And if you're committed to changing and committed to revealing the anxiety-free version of you over time, you're going to need to start taking action. So rather than hiding at home and hoping and wishing and praying things are going to change, and visualizing a different you, which is helpful. I'm not going to completely rule that stuff out. The ultimate cure, beyond redirecting your focus to other people, the ultimate cure for social anxiety is to immerse yourself in real-world situations that you previously did not find comfortable, and demonstrating to yourself that actually you can handle them, and that you're not going to die at the end of them. But it's made a lot more easy when you sort of take those small gradual steps. But in order for that to work, in order for you to do it, you're going to firstly need to commit time every day, because it's habits we're dealing with, because you need to be taking action on things and starting to incorporate them and starting to build them into the very fabric of who you are. You need to be making time for those things. So an hour a day for desensitization, social tasks, social activities. I know that it sounds weird, but if you've got social anxiety and it's unnecessary and it's holding you back in life, which it is, you're going to need to make time to put yourself through a program of desensitization, or if you've got extra courage that you can dig out from somewhere else, you might just want to dive into the harder stuff, and that's fine. But you don't want to completely traumatize yourself too soon if you're really struggling. So the smaller the better. And this is what I did a few years ago. I set up my own program of desensitization in London. I took ideas from all over the web and other people, and I listed out a hierarchy of different types of tasks that I could do, and different kind of awkward things I could do with people that got me feeling a lot more relaxed and a lot more self-confident. My confidence grew out of the courage of taking these particular actions. So it was asking the time, asking for directions, singing the ABCs in the street in London. I did all kinds of silly things. Dancing in the street, giving people high fives, asking attractive people of the opposite sex, for a coffee. All kinds of stuff that would get your heartbeat going a little bit. And you would do those things over and over again. You wouldn't just high five people once. You would do it over and over again until it became more manageable, and you realized that through doing it you were safe, and it's one of the most exhilarating things you can do is to really feel you rapidly improving mentally and socially by getting out there and doing the tasks that you otherwise would have been terrified to do, just in an incremental way. And as I said, these are not necessarily things that you would go out of your way to do. I mean, not many people go out of their way to high five people, but it is the kind of thing that the anxiety-free version of you would do without hesitation if they were encouraged to do it by someone else, if you see what I mean. Like it wouldn't cause as much fear. So you want to basically do those things that the anxiety-free version of you wouldn't do, and in order to do it, you've got to create this program. I'm working on a social fear desensitization program that I'm going to be releasing through redlemonclub.com. Make sure that you're signed up to the newsletter if you're interested in hearing more about it. It's going to be a course with different social actions that you can take, different ideas for things that you can do in small increments. They won't take long necessarily, at least the first ones. I will be doing videos and audios describing each one, and I'll be helping people through the process of just doing it, and encouraging people and helping people get motivated about doing it all, and also holding people accountable through a 30-day sort of challenge type setup. So make sure that you're following Red Lemon Club for more news about that program, which will be coming out soon. But otherwise, you can create your own. You can write a list of all the things that you could do that might challenge you a little bit socially, and rank the list from least anxiety provoking to the most. So you might just start with some of the ideas that I came up with. Going out alone to a bar, for example, might not be appropriate for all of you, but going to a cinema alone, going to eat by yourself, maybe doing some quirky stuff like going into a restaurant and asking them to give you a tour of their restaurant, or just there's all kinds of funny things that we could do. I'm going to be listing those out on Red Lemon Club in various articles and things like that, so keep your eyes out for that. But it's going to involve a little bit of awkwardness. It's going to involve a little bit of a willingness to be rejected. It's really what it comes down to is sort of being tolerant of the risk of being rejected by other people. This is where our fear stems. We overblow the consequences of being rejected. We worry too much about how bad being rejected by someone else is, whereas in actual fact being rejected is not a big deal. We're going to have to deal with some of it, at least some light rejection in our lives if we're to progress. So it's something that it's one of the most valuable skills in the world, is to become more and more tolerant of potentially being rejected by other people and looking silly in front of other people. It's great for creativity, it's fantastic for productivity and overall well-being. We need to be able to be comfortable, or at least handle, be tolerant of uncertainty and the potential to be rejected. I'm going to take a quick swig of my water here, because I find that I tend to want to rush ending the podcast too soon if I'm getting exhausted, because I do talk quite fast and I'm offloading a lot of ideas, and I don't want to cut things short unnecessarily. So give me a moment to take a sort of quick breather here. You may want to think back over what I've been chatting about and see where this fits into your life. You know, if you have unnecessary social fears and you want to push out into your full potential, these ideas can be absolutely game changing, and they really helped me take huge leaps forward several years ago, which have really helped lead to me doing more, you know, things like podcasting and being a lot more socially at ease around other people. And as I said, I'm still not there yet. I still dread going to bigger social events and parties and things like that, but it's getting a lot better. And the beauty is that I'm hopeful for the future now. I feel more positive and more optimistic because I know how to address these issues, and I know that I'm going to be getting better at it over time as long as I have that motivation to keep doing it, which is what brings me to the third part of this chat. So the first one is making that commitment. Make the commitment to be anxiety free. Make the commitment to allow your anxiety free version, you know, your confident self to come through. You're going to have to work on it, so that requires a commitment. The second part of that is to make time every day to immerse yourself in gradually and incrementally more anxiety-provoking situations through a program of desensitization. That is my recommendation to you. As I said, all the gimmicky stuff like the affirmations and I'm not saying praying is gimmicky, but wishing things to change is only going to take you so far. It may reduce your nerves a little bit in the moment, but actually being in the moment, being in reality around people is the only thing that's going to completely obliterate your anxiety. That's what's really going to make the difference is speaking, expressing yourself, being there around people, feeling, you know, touching the moment, being there. So you're going to have to make time for those actions, those social tasks, and especially for those of you who like to spend time alone at home and in solitude. You know, I'm running out of battery here, but in solitude, sort of, you know, working on your genius. It's all good, but make time. Make sure that there's an hour or so every day that you go out and you engage with people. And this is an exciting prospect. This can open up all kinds of opportunities because you're not only improving your well-being and changing your life for the good by doing this, you're also potentially bringing in new opportunities, new work opportunities, meeting new people, finally getting that relationship going that you feel that you've been missing out on. And this is all going to make that possible. So this desensitization program can be something that you set up yourself, or it can be something that I provide for you through this course that's coming out. Make sure you follow me everywhere for notes on when that's coming out. And then you want to make sure that you have energy. This is going to take a lot of energy and commitment and time. Well, not necessarily the time, but the energy is a big thing here, because in order to really change, especially something that's been sort of bogging you down for so many years, especially something that's mental and is habitual and is ingrained deeply in our psyches, it's going to take a lot of energy to make these changes and to have the motivation to get up every day and commit to doing something that most of us are terrified of doing. So you're going to have to do what I call energy mining, which is doing what you can to maintain high energy levels and high positivity levels. And that will come through, we all have vices that we know are affecting our anxiety and we know are affecting our social anxiety. And there are so many things that I've had to cut out of my life that have made massively positive changes to my ability to just function around other people. And that's got nothing to do with just being confident in general. It's having had things like coffee and smoking and too many pastries and too much sugar. These things do affect your anxiety levels. So if you've got social anxiety and you smoke and you drink and all these other things that pile on the extra anxiety, it's going to make it worse. It's going to heighten the social anxiety, which is not what you need when you're going through this training program. So you want to do things that boost your energy. You want to cut out those things that kind of hold your energy levels down and make you more anxious. I can't go into too much detail with regards to that in this episode, but I can definitely talk about that more in other episodes. But things like caffeine and, you know, there's the low-hanging fruit that you're just going to have to be brave and you're just going to have to cut out if you're dealing with a mental issue and these things are exasperating your anxiety, and what you really need to do is to improve your well-being. You're going to have to cut those things out. It's hard, but just think about what changes that's going to lead to you, what kinds of amazing results and positive changes that's going to happen for you if you cut those things out. And then the other aspect of energy mining is to continually psych yourself up. You're going to need to be a good personal motivator. You're going to need to be a kind of CEO of your own life, like a leader of your own life. You're going to have to take responsibility, and this means not only cutting out bad stuff from your life, but also exercising and getting up earlier and just being a generally more motivated person. And that comes through taking actions that motivated people do, which is eating well, getting up early, self-motivating, breathing deeply, exercising, doing the meditation stuff as well. That's all good. All these things contribute to increased energy levels, and you're going to need to read up, I think, a little bit more on how to boost your energy. These are just the sort of basics, but there are other things you can do. But basically just deep breathing, exercise, eating well, and being good at motivating yourself. So reminding yourself of your mission, of your purpose, and reminding yourself of why you're doing all this and how powerful this is going to be in your life. You're going to have to get serious about eradicating this unnecessary social stuff out of your life, because it really does hamper you in ways that is unnecessary and pointless, like it was for me. That's pretty much it for this episode, guys. I hope that made some sense. I'm sure it did. Certainly all these things that I've used have really helped me feel a bit more stable in life and be able to attack those tasks and those things that I need to get done that are going to improve my life. Doing things like podcasting and videos is something that I would have never dreamt of doing a few years ago, and thanks to managing my energy and committing to changing and immersing myself in more social stuff incrementally, this has really helped me just be better. And I think that can apply to you as well. We're all humans, and we all deserve a life free of unnecessary demons that we create for ourselves. There's no point going through life with these unnecessary anchors that hold us down. So speaking of Anchor, you might want to follow me on anchor.fm. That's where the Red Lemon Show was born. But of course, this podcast is available on all good channels that have podcasts, including Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure you do like this. If it's a video, please like and subscribe to it. Share it with your friends. This applies to you podcast listeners as well. I want some recommendations, guys, on people to interview. I'm going to start doing interviews once I get past episode 15 or 20 maybe. Depends on how much courage I've got to do that. But I'm looking forward to chatting to some real live people through the show. And just as a reminder on what this show is really focused on, the real hook is productivity. So I want Red Lemon Club to be known for the productivity angle. But of course, from productivity, there stems all kinds of other aspects, like the social confidence. You can't really be productive if you're socially anxious all the time, and anxious in general, and depressed. So mental issues and self-development issues is certainly something that I like to talk about a lot. Motivation marketing is a big one. Getting clients, getting money. This is all stuff that is generally going to feed into our sense of well-being, especially as creative people, independent creative types, and entrepreneurs and self-starters. So if you enjoyed this, do send me an email and let me know how I'm doing. Send me some feedback. Always happy to hear about what you guys thought. And as another reminder, go to redlemonclub.com/Slack, SLACK, to sign up for our online forum. It's totally free. It just requires a quick fill-in of a survey. We will let you in with open arms. Happy to see you guys there. Make sure that you introduce yourself when you do come. We're happy to hear from all kinds of different people. That's, I think, the beauty of the Red Lemon Club Slack, is that people of all kinds, from all corners of the industry, come together to share ideas, so that you're not completely stuck in your own bubble. And it's a nice opportunity to chat with people if you ever do feel lonely and you're not doing my social tasks that I set for you. Okay, guys. I hope that was useful. And yeah, I'll see you in the next episode.